Hello internet adventurers and welcome to Ronile Dolls. I'm Ronile and today I'll be doing a very special collaborative repaint. This collab is hosted by Charlotte's Repaint on Instagram. I will be repainting Gyarados, one of the original 151 Pokemon from the first generation. I'm going to give my Gyarados a pirate mermaid feel with a stern face and long beautiful blue hair. I'll be taking inspiration from Delightful's Aurora, the dragon custom. First I remove her face with acrylic nail remover. And then I shall be removing her hair. I cut it a little bit haphazardly because I'm not saving this hair at all. I then dunk her head in hot water so I can remove it and scrape out all the hair plugs from the inside. Next I glue on some wefts of doll hair with my hot glue gun. I've pre-plaited these. I also glue on more hair, but now it's time for the face up. I take lots of blues, blacks, greys and white pastels to blush her face and give her that slightly sterner look I'm going for. I also use some red on her lips, just to bring that nod to the shiny form Red Gyarados. These are the colours I'll be using for her face up. I also used a dark blue as well. I struggled a little bit with this face up. I'm not sure why. I believe it was I was at the bottom of a can of sealant, so it was a little bit of a struggle. I use my tried and true method of lifting pigment from the watercolour pencils with a wet paintbrush in order to juice up some of those colours. Then I went in with acrylic paints in black and white to darken the eyeliner, the pupils, the scaleras and add the eye shines. I also add some Liquitex High Gloss varnish to the lips and eyes. Now time for the outfit. I cut these pieces from some card in order to make her jacket. I've got the front, back, sleeves, bottom bit of the tails and the collar. I'm going to attach the jacket either side, like sewing along the side like so. And sewing along the top to connect the two pieces up there. I'll then fold down the sides to make it nice and neat. The sleeves I have made two blue and two white. I will be pinning them and sewing them across before turning them inside out in order to get a nice seam along the top where the sleeve will be turned up, give it that nice effect. I have ironed a piece of medium interfacing to the white sections on the collar and the tails, and I will be sewing around the edges, leaving a gap at the top and in the middle to turn them inside out. This is my sewing kit I took to Costa. And for the scarf I just take a little bit of wire and hot glue it into the centre of a bit of fabric, like so, and then I turn the fabric over. For the hat I take a bit of craft foam. This isn't the nicest bit of craft foam, but it's what I had on hand, and I draw a long tall rectangle which will go around her head as the main body of the hat, and then I draw a nice big circle to make the brim. I then cut out the pieces and cut some little slits in the middle of the big circle in order to get the right sized fit for my doll's head. This is to help with also attaching the main hat section to the brim. As you can see me checking the size, I will need to have to cut it bigger. This is where I cut it nice and big and I'm wrapping the brim around. I do cut the little triangles through the centre of them again to make it easier. I then stitch around the whole thing, stitching the edge to the brim, and I hold the stitches in place with hot glue. I then pin the top sections together after cutting down the sides of them. Once I've done that, I start stitching down the middle to just pull everything nice and tight in together and give the hat its top covering hat bit, like hats have. Make sure not to pull the thread too tightly, otherwise you could just rip it straight through the foam. Once I've done that, I coat it in hot glue to just hold down the stitches, and then I will be turning up one side of the brim and stitching it to the main body of the hat to form those classic squash bits you get on the 3 tricorn pirate hat. That is their official term, you can fight me on it. I do this twice more to make a nice triangle shape. I then put some fabric in the middle to hide the inside part by putting some hot glue and just smushing the fabric down inside. Then take some black acrylic paint and start to paint around the edge and just on the entire hat, excluding the red part in the middle, of course. I did about 2 or 3 coats of this black until it was completely opaque. Now it is time for the body mods! Yay! I'm going to be using some air dry clay for this. First I cut the tail off, I embed a wire inside using super glue, and then I just start trying my best with some air dry clay. I add a little bit to the thins that are already there, using them as a bit of an armature. I try my best to get equal shapes. To be honest, I am not anywhere near an expert at air dry clay. If you want people who are, check out Nerdy Crafter and Delightful's Aurora video. This I'm doing something similar, making a little pinch pot type thing. I get my paintbrush and I just get a hole and then I wiggle it around until I get one. For the tail fin, I make a 3-pronged armature wire and coat each wire with a nice lot of air dry clay. And then it's time for drying. Once dry, I painted it from a light blue going down the tail to a dark blue and black. I also add some fabric using hot glue straight onto the tail piece. I also paint the little arm thins the same blue as the top of the tail. This took a couple of coats. Next I'm going to be threading them all through using this nice thick elastic. I did have a thinner elastic, but I did not think it would be able to cope. It took me a little bit of time to get this tail threaded, and I did have to use tweezers to help me as the holes kept getting smaller, as they do. Next I pulled the elastic nice and tight and just sewed it a couple times to make sure it was nice and secure, so the tail would not be all floppy and just useless. Now I needed to add the fins on the back of Gyarados' tail, which I forgot about earlier. For this I take air dry clay and just smush it onto the fin. I then later on, once I'd shaped it, taken it off, cut the excess off around the edge and left it to dry. I then attached them back on later with super glue so it was nice and tightly on there. And here she is, our stern and beautiful pirate mermaid Gyarados, Queen of the Sea. And I absolutely love her. I really want a tail like this of my own. It's amazing. I'm so glad about how she turned out. I was so scared as this was my first time doing body mods, but I love her. She is currently available to be purchased via my Instagram at ronile_dolls, and I hope you like this video. Give it a like and subscribe if you do, and I'll see you next time. Interesting, very interesting. This will do nicely.